The time has come to give you guys my top 10 favorite movies of 2023. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going through my favorite films of 2023. These are my personal favorite films that I watched in the year 2023. But before I get into this list, be sure to hit that like button. It helps out more than you guys know. Comment your favorite films of the year down below. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot as I am so close to making that final push. And go show some love to the Unusual Couple podcast for weekly episodes with myself and my girlfriend Cam. We always have a ton of fun with it and got a lot of things planned for 2024. Alright, so I have some honorable mentions because to me this was a really excellent year for movies. Lots of films got 4.5 out of 5s for me. A few got 5 out of 5s. There were a good number of 4 out of 5 films. I have about 7 honorable mentions and then 2 unique mentions. You'll see what I mean by that in a second. So my honorable mentions are as follows in no particular order. Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, Killers of the Flower Moon, Talk to Me, Dumb Money, American Fiction, Scream 6, and Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. These movies were all on the outside looking in and they were so close to making the top 10, but they just missed the cut. And then I have to shout out these 2 movies as unique mentions. Louis Tomlinson, All of Those Voices, and Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour. One of these is a documentary about Louis Tomlinson with some concert footage, and the other is the Eras Tour concert film, of course. Those are 2 of my favorite musical artists, and I just wanted to highlight them because they had films come out this year. But now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the top 10 itself, and kickstarting this list at number 10 is Past Lives, an A24 film that came out earlier this year. I myself didn't watch it until recently when I did a big catch-up on 2023 movies, and this just so happened to be one of them. This is a beautiful film. It's so well written, and it tackles love, a concept that is universal, but more importantly, love between 2 people who we know are in love, and they're meant to be together, but it just doesn't work out in this lifetime. It is a tragic story. It broke my heart in the end, and it's dialogue-driven through and through. The majority of the film isn't even in English. It's actually in Korean, and I was so entranced by this story early on because of the writing that I honestly forgot I was even reading the subtitles as the film progressed. And what a heartbreaking concept it is that at a young age you find your soulmate, but then you grow apart, you move away for years, you rekindle your friendship and you're talking, and then you go away for years again. You end up settling for a life that you're happy with, but then years later you rekindle this relationship with this person from your childhood again, your real soulmate. And as you talk, you're kind of bittersweet. You're longing for a life that you can't have. It's a very heartbreaking concept, akin to La La Land, right person, wrong lifetime. That's what Past Lives is all about. Greta Lee shines here. It's got one of the best screenplays of the year, and it just resonated with me so deeply. It had to be on this list. Coming in at number 9, I've got The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the prequel set within the Hunger Games universe. This is based on the novel, also written by Suzanne Collins, just like all the other Hunger Games books. And this is essentially an origin story for President Coriolanus Snow, who we know as Donald Sutherland in the first 4 films. This is a glimpse at his life years ago when he was actually a mentor in the 10th annual Hunger Games to Lucy Gray Baird from District 12. Now this movie is long, it's about 2.5 hours, but it's got a clear 3-act structure. It shows us the progression of the Hunger Games over the years because we're accustomed to them being a lot more high-tech, fancy, and all figured out. This movie is very early on in the history of the Hunger Games, so they're almost working with scraps here. A lot of things are breaking or not going their way, and it's just fascinating to see how far the Hunger Games have progressed over the years. But above all else, this movie slowly chronicles the downward spiral of Coriolanus Snow into the version of the character that we would come to know in the original 4 films. Tom Blythe crushes it in the role, and Lucy Gray Baird, played by Rachel Zegler, is outstanding. She has multiple musical numbers where she gets to sing and show off her ability as a musician. But over the course of the movie, we see Lucy Gray Baird realize, okay, Snow's kind of a psychopath. And then by the end of the movie, she's playing mind games on Snow. So the movie provides us with a classic good old Hunger Games in the middle of the film, but the last act is a departure from that. And that's when we really explore Snow's downfall mentally and the relationship between him and Lucy Gray Baird. I've always thoroughly enjoyed the Hunger Games series, and this was one of the better additions in my opinion, and the score by James Newton Howard has not escaped my mind. Snow lands on top. At number 8 on my list is Godzilla Minus One, a movie that I had nowhere near my radar coming into this calendar year, but everyone was hyping it up online. People were like, it might be the movie of the year, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go see this thing and see what it's all about. I was one of like 3 people in the cinema. I saw it not in IMAX, but in like the big D screen, which is almost IMAX, and this movie was roaringly loud in the best possible way. It gave us Godzilla in huge scale with only like a $15 million budget. But throwing all that aside, what really makes this movie stand out is that it puts an emphasis on the characters above all else. All the other MonsterVerse Godzilla movies I've seen are all about the monsters with the most bland and uninteresting human characters ever. This movie is more so about the human characters than Godzilla, and I have to commend it for that because it told a real human story. I had an emotional connection to all these characters. It had those gut punches and moments where you're rooting so hard for the lives of our characters and their safety. I don't really feel that in any other Godzilla movie I've seen. The film is very comparable to Jaws in terms of that film taking care of its characters before giving us all these brutal shark kills. Of course, you've got your classic Godzilla monster smash moments in this movie, but you care about everyone involved, and it just elevates that to a whole new level. Godzilla Minus One is a spectacle. If you didn't get to see it on the big screen, you gotta watch it when it comes on home video because the movie is one of the best of the year for sure in my mind. At number 7 on my list is The Holdovers. There's only one word to describe this movie: delightful. I do think this is a new Christmas classic. That term's been thrown around a lot describing this movie, and I align with that 100%. It is a story of Paul Giamatti playing this teacher at an all-boys school, and the Christmas break is coming up. Everyone's obviously going home for the holidays. Well, a group of students has to hang back or hold over, and he has to stay behind and look after them. But over the course of the film, this student-teacher relationship flourishes. Paul Giamatti's character reminds me of some of the teachers I had in high school that I thought were some of the best mentors I had that taught me really valuable life lessons. It's a comedy drama blend done right. It will warm your heart at certain points, and Divine Joy Randolph, who plays sort of the cook in the film who stays behind, has recently experienced an emotional tragedy, and so this trio of characters, the most unlikely pairing, have this chemistry over the course of the movie that feels almost like an unconventional family that you end up falling in love with. It is a heartwarming, delightful watch. I cannot recommend this movie enough. It's just a blissful watch, and I can't wait to own the Blu-ray and hopefully rewatch it every Christmas season moving forward. At number 6 on my list is Blackberry, a movie that's gone completely under the radar. It's my type of movie. If you like those rise and fall films that chronicle like a business, a company, a tech item, or even just some sort of scam or scheme and you see them rise to the top and then fall off, Blackberry's for you. It's very similar to The Social Network in terms of its sharp dialogue and writing. Now you can tell it's not Aaron Sorkin, but I'm captivated by these dialogue-driven scenes through and through. It's got Wolf of Wall Street vibes. It's that kind of movie where these guys have this product and they rise to the top so quick it all comes crashing down just as fast though. The standout here without question is Glenn Howerton. If I could vote for the Oscars, he would be on my ballot for Best Supporting Actor. This man crushes it. I know him as Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he is effortlessly hilarious there. And sure, he's got his moments to shine here where you'll laugh because he has some uproarious scene where he's like yelling at somebody just like Fletcher and Whiplash. But there are subtle moments with his character too in the third act of this film, and he's outstanding here. He is the best performance. Jay Baruchel's great as well. But this is a fascinating story about the BlackBerry phone, which took over the business landscape in the world for quite some time and then just fell off a cliff like that. It was almost overnight, and this film chronicles the rise and fall of BlackBerry so well. Fascinating watch and one of the most intriguing films of 2023 to me. Bringing us into my top 5, at number 5, I've got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I've talked about this movie a lot this year. It is obviously gorgeously animated, a very worthy follow-up to Into the Spider-Verse, but it left me wanting more in the best possible ways. Spider-Gwen was the MVP of this movie in my mind. Both the score and the soundtrack in this film are excellent pieces of music. There's like a 30-minute chase scene with pretty much every variant of Spider-Man imaginable on screen. It is a dream come true as a fan of Spider-Man, and this movie just rules. I feel like it's on most people's top 10 lists this year, and rightfully so. At number 4, I've got John Wick Chapter 4, the final John Wick film, seemingly, at least with Keanu Reeves in the role. Perhaps he could come back, perhaps not. This is an action film done right. In fact, it is one of the best shot, best made action films I've ever laid eyes on. The final hour and a half of this movie just continues to blow my mind one scene after another. There's a scene on a highway. I was like, how the hell did they shoot this? Where people are fist fighting and shooting each other while all these cars are going by. It's this high octane thrill scene. Then you move on from that and you've got this scene with a dragon's breath shotgun where John Wick is going through and it's a one take in this whole entire building where he's taking out these guys and the camera just pans up and you're watching it all from overhead. I was like, how did they even execute this? And then you've got the whole staircase scene that just is wild. Like, in terms of action, this is some of the best I've ever seen put to film, and it blew my mind. But the reason it's so high on this list and the reason it's my favorite John Wick film is because of the emotional core at the center of it. This movie humanizes John Wick the most by far. It's got an actual compelling story, and early on they set up a villain who you are rooting against. It's got real stakes. It feels like it has purpose. John Wick has killed his whole life and now he's kind of coming to terms with his morality. It's a very deep film that makes you almost reflect on your own self. John Wick Chapter 4 is the best this franchise has to offer, and to me, one of the best action films I've ever seen in a theater. Coming in at number 3 on my list is The Iron Claw. This movie made a late push into my top 10 because I hadn't seen it until about a few days ago. I didn't do a review for it or anything, but this movie broke me in the best possible way. It is the story of the Von Erich family. They were real-life wrestlers, and the unfortunate, true tragedy that took place with this family. I won't reveal too many plot details for those who haven't seen it, but Zac Efron plays Kevin Von Erich, and my goodness, he deserves an Oscar nomination. You've probably seen all the tweets about it. Give him an Oscar nom, give him an Oscar nom. He really does deserve one. Physically, his transformation for this film honestly blows my mind. He put on so much muscle here, but emotionally speaking, his performance is a gut punch. There are a lot of subtle line deliveries, but over the course of the film, you kind of see him start to break. Jeremy Allen White, great as always in a supporting role. Holt McCallany, however you say his name, should be an Oscar's consideration as well, as he plays the father of these brothers, and he's sort of a despicable character. He just cares about glory and getting his name out there, and he's just not the best dad, to say the least. This movie explores ideas of continuing a legacy, dealing with societal pressures, dealing with family pressures, and living up to a certain name. It also deals with just toxic masculinity, in a way, and the idea of, oh, I gotta be the macho tough guy, I can't show human emotion. It's like, no, that's super unhealthy, dude. But most importantly, if you have a brother or any siblings, this movie will wreck you, plain and simple. The Iron Claw is a beautifully made film. It's got some feel-good moments, believe it or not, where you're kind of like, okay, I can dig it. There is undeniably tragedy in this film for about an hour straight. So get your tissues ready. It's not an easy watch, but it is a necessary watch and one of the best made films of 2023 to me. My runner-up on this list is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Talk about a beautiful send-off to a group of characters we've all loved for about a decade now. That's what Guardians 3 is. I've talked about this movie ad nauseum this year because I love it so much. The soundtrack I could listen to on a loop daily. It gave us the No Sleep Till Brooklyn one-take fight scene, but above all else, this movie put Rocket at the front and center. It fleshed out his backstory, gave us the most heartbreaking scene in the MCU perhaps, when he watches Lila and his friends die in front of his eyes and Bradley Cooper just lets out that cry. It hurts my heart every single time, but everyone got their moment to shine in this film. This is how you do a conclusion, and James Gunn just lets these characters ride off into the sunset with perfect endings. The emotional journey I went on while watching it is pretty much incomparable to most of the other films on this list. I laughed so hard at times, I cried, I had fist pump moments, but ultimately I was heartwarmed. This movie gave me everything I wanted and more in terms of being a pure Guardians of the Galaxy film, and it ended on the highest note possible. I will always love the Guardians of the Galaxy. I will cherish this one forever. But taking the top spot as my favorite film of 2023 is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, and this should come as no surprise. I've praised this movie ever since July when it came out. I've seen it 3 times now. I read the screenplay. I've watched all the special features on the 4K disc. This movie is not only my favorite movie of this year, but in contention for one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. It's slowly creeping its way up my all-time list. I've become obsessed with this film. In fact, I think it's Christopher Nolan's best directorial effort. This film explores J. Robert Oppenheimer and the moral conflict he had with the creation of the atomic bomb, more importantly, the use of it, and everyone brought their A game here. Nolan directs the hell out of it, obviously, but the performances across the board. Cillian should win the Oscar. RDJ should win the Oscar. He plays this evil, wicked character who has some line deliveries that are bone-chilling. Emily Blunt has her time to shine. I mean, I could go on and on. The cast across the board is elite here. But then I watched the special features and I gained an even deeper appreciation for the behind-the-scenes production of this film. Everything is filmed in camera pretty much. They had special IMAX lenses made for the special effects that we see when, you know, Oppenheimer will have visions of atoms. Some of those scenes are just Christopher Nolan off-screen waving around this glow stick contraption. It's just so neat. The attention to detail that went into the physical production of this film. They even had special black and white IMAX film made for this movie. There's no denying it's a technical technical achievement. It's arguably Nolan's best directed film. It's well acted, of course, but then you get to the score by Ludwig Göransson. That's one of my most listened to pieces of music from this calendar year. Ludwig Göransson was number 2 on my Spotify Wrapped. The score itself acts as a character in this movie. I think the most impressive thing about Oppenheimer, though, is that it's a film about the creation of the atomic bomb, right? But it's so riveting. The third act turns into this full-on courtroom drama. The middle act is all about the Trinity test, and the first act is just introducing us to this world and these characters. What's really impressive about Oppenheimer as well is how relevant it all feels to today. There's a sense of dread when you're watching the film, like the implications of this guy's actions still have a long-standing impact today, and the end of the movie really will make you think about that. It's easily the best movie ending of the year to me. Oppenheimer is a terrifyingly beautiful watch that made me feel all sorts of emotions, and is the best crafted movie of 2023 in my mind. I'll rewatch this one for years to come, and frankly, it's one of my favorite movies I've seen in the theater, period. But that does it for my top 10 favorite films of 2023. Let me know yours in the comments down below, and be sure to hit that like button, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified for all my videos as we approach 2024. And my final video of the year drops tomorrow, a tier list ranking of all 54 new releases I watched in 2023. But that's gonna do it. Thank you guys as always, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.